Emotioneering shamelessly steals from Disney's Imagineering. And what we mean by this is creating experiences with the intent of having an emotional impact. So we started talking about this in the context of brands, our clients, and how they can bring more emotion back to the experiences that they're creating for their customers. Because we also see, in the world of brands and advertising, this similar kind of malaise that people are feeling that we also see in the world of work. And so Emotioneering is all about, how can I craft experiences with this intent of creating an emotional payback. So instead of thinking about, revenue per square foot or square meter in the office, instead, why can we not think about joy per square meter or per floor? Can we inspire rather than just think about those kind of basic metrics, which are all very important? But by creating emotion and using emotion to inspire and connect and engage with people, we think this can create a feeling of belonging, of connection, and a whole host of other benefits, around creativity, around collaboration, all by stimulating different emotions. First of all, I would say there's no one single solution. There's not going to be one thing that you can do to emotioneer your workplace. I think it's going to be a patchwork of different solutions. You need to think about different emotions, different contexts. So in my talk today, I'll be talking about how you can create joy or inject magic. And the unexpected, but also kind of peace and serenity to foster better connection. So, that's just, 4 or 5 emotions. There's actually, as you said, a huge spectrum. And I think, there's lots and lots that you can play with. But, it's important to think about, the different people that are in your organization. And then those people are not going to be kind of static and, the same the whole time. So the same person might need different emotional stimulus, depending on what they're working on or who they're working with or, time of day even. So I think it's about thinking about, knowing your people, knowing the context of the task they need to do, and then thinking about how emotion can kind of up-level those tasks or processes. And then, introducing a whole different kind of raft of solutions. They might be really small, they might be major, it might be a whole redesign of your office, very expensive, but there's also really small things that you can do. So I think it's about the combination, and that will be different for different organizations. And it's also a long-term project, right? It's not something you can just do in sort of 6 weeks. It's going to be something that you need to track and monitor and refine over time. So no small undertaking. In our research and in the talk I'll be giving today, we sort of separate the emotions out, but actually there's a lot of overlap in many ways between emotions. Like, for example, joy and awe both have this effect that they kind of open people up to social connection. They make them more open, more optimistic, more willing to engage with others. So there are little overlaps here and there between different emotions. So it's not quite as discrete as, just designing for joy, designing for awe, and so on. But I do think one that I start with and that I think is particularly interesting is awe. And it's an emotion that was not particularly well studied actually until probably the last decade or so. And there's a lot of research being done in that space now. And it's fascinating emotion because it has the enormous benefits. There's so much it can do for us. When you think about the context of the world that we're in now, because I also think that's very important, there's a whole kind of global emergency in mental health, anxiety, stress. And one of the most important impacts of awe is that it disrupts all of that. It can stop us ruminating. It stops us focusing on the self, the ego, and lifts our attention to each other and to the world around us. And in doing that, it completely disrupts all of that anxiety that people are feeling. So, thinking about trends like burnout, like quiet quitting, something like awe in the workplace and how you can deploy that could be a really powerful solution to some of those problems.